Here you are.
Abigail!
Hi.
Look, I wanted to be provocative. You see, this is the thing I told you about.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Can you
Wow.
hear it? I wonder if you can hear it.
I can't.
It's on the highest setting right now. See, it's like a little
Wait, so
motor.
let me see. Oh,
Can you
I
see
see
it?
it.
So
Oh
I
my
I
goodness.
taped an activated charcoal filter on the front, and inside there is there's a HEPA filter, and it's a little motor, and basically it sucks in air from here and blows it through this hole so you can breathe filtered air. But I'm gonna take it off.
Wow.
I just wanted to film it because it's so fucked up. So fucked up that I have to do this. Seriously.
Yeah, I believe it though. I told you last time I was there, I couldn't breathe the whole time I was there. It's
Yeah,
pretty
but
bad.
we all think it's hay fever, but actually it's just these, I mean, it's also hay fever probably, but it's also like these volatile organic compounds, which is it an allergic reaction? Not really. These are substances you're just not supposed to be inhaling, you know, like
Yeah, I've heard a lot
ozone.
of weird about like a lot of weird fungi in the air too,
Yeah,
and
that's also a, oops, wait a minute. Why did I just muted you by accident? Sorry. Yeah, that's apparently one of the worst allergens, like indoor allergens, is like mold and mildew and fungi. And who
yeah.
is this? These little eyeballs I see. Can she hear me? Am I on
Yeah,
your
she's like super
Hi,
tired and
Sissy? Let me see.
mad, but not
Oh,
going.
about
She's
what?
kind of like
Oh, she smiled.
in
Hi,
between
Sissy.
taking 2 naps a day and 1 nap a day. So
Oh God.
you
It's
never
that
know which
period.
baby you're gonna get.
Yeah, especially when she starts to get cranky, right? Hi,
Yes,
Dorothy. Hi, Sissy. When I said
she's
hi,
got
Sissy, she
four
smiled.
molars
Oh
and
my gosh.
at once, and
Ow.
her canines are coming in now, which
Ow. Oh, those are going to be
you
painful,
know
right?
how we feel about dental stuff.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
family
for Charlie,
thread.
the canines were worse than her molars. And they took longer to push
That's what
through the
I would
skin.
imagine. I would
Ugh.
imagine those hurt because that's really more sensitive, this area of your mouth. Oh, poor Sissy. Hi. Look
Look at
this
her, how
way,
many
Dorothy.
bruises she has on
Hi.
her forehead.
Oh my God, that was Alexander and Maxie. Oh, and Darius. What am I saying? I think
At
Artemis
one point,
maybe a
Charlie,
bit
when she was a
less.
baby, she was like one here, one here, like one here.
We can never unsee these things, but like fortunately they bounce back. It's incredible, right? How durable babies are.
Oh yeah.
Even though they're
Oh
so
yeah.
soft, or maybe because they're so soft, right? They
Yeah.
just kind of roll with the punches or the falls, more like.
Both nice and soft and squishy and warm. Charlie
Yeah.
says, "Oh, Sissy, I need some of Sissy's warm. I'm taking some of her
Oh
warm."
my God. Yeah, she's actually looking sleepy. So maybe like you just
Maybe
holding
she'll
her
just,
there,
yeah,
talking, she'll get like in
yeah,
the zone and just
yeah,
kind
and
of,
then you get bored and just, that's what I'm
uh-huh.
hoping.
Or at the very worst, it'll be like alpha waves, so she'll rest up. Then she'll be
Yeah.
totally energized to run all night. Fun. So I'm getting a walkthrough of your house too.
Yeah, it's crazy and it's totally crazy in here right now. I've been like baking so much the last couple of days that I've been
Uh-huh.
ignoring everything. Well, I cleaned all of the sinks in our house before we talked, so that's progress.
So do you have Ajax hands or what do you use? I mean, I only use like really destructive chemicals to do that kind of
I've
cleaning.
been using it depends on how bad it is, but most of the time I just use dish soap and like some baking soda,
Oh,
and
baking
sometimes
soda,
I'll
yeah.
sprinkle oxygen bleach in there. That's pretty
Hmm.
much what I use to clean all my sinks, my toilets, and my shower.
That is a very good combination, actually. So
It
you're
is, it
so you're
works
talking
super
like
well.
oxy and baking soda and
Yeah,
detergent, depending
yeah,
on what you use. Yeah, that's a good combination.
yeah, this dish soap, because I mean, I feel that it rinses super clean, because a lot of stuff I've tried using, yeah, I feel like it just leaves like a residue, and then it builds up dirt faster. And
See,
she's like, and then take off your entire shirt.
that's why I
Oh,
use these toxic things. It's a family program, Dorothy. That's
I
fine.
know.
You are a family, so that makes it just perfect. Perfect. I think I have, on Zoom it has these settings, so sometimes I can get it to make a
The little like,
yeah, there, see, look.
oh, there you go. Whoa, that's cool.
But I
I
think
never
it's my
knew.
settings.
So,
Like I think you have to have it on your device as well for your,
all right, I'm like looking, trying
interaction
to
to
figure
it.
out how to do that
Um,
now.
could it be under the little reactions tab? I don't,
Yes,
yeah.
I
Do
see
you
this.
recognize hand gestures?
Oh, wow. Wait,
Let me
is
see
it
if I
gonna,
can do.
it said raise hand.
Or
Hold on.
oh yeah, no, that's just telling me you have a question, so I can go and say, yes,
Oh,
Mrs. McKillop, would you like to say something? So yeah, that's raise hand, but there's a reactions tab. There's also an AI companion tab, which I am not pushing, but I think it's like, then you get these options for it to kind of do meeting minutes, like automated meeting minutes, and they're actually pretty good. Like it'll call all the transcripts and then it'll give you a summary of what you
can you
talked
get
about.
down now? Can you get down?
She's really listening. I can tell she's like, what was that? Isn't that
Yeah.
wild? I wonder, when we watch this back, I'm gonna see how similar our voices are, because that whole business about Charlie sounding like she's from Western New York is just mind blowing.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. Hi, Sissy. It's your Auntie Sherry. Hi. How are you? Kisses. Kisses.
Chuku, 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 chuku.
Hi. Hi. Oh, I got a smile. Mwah. How are
Oh,
you?
that smile was like, I'm smiling, but my teeth hurt.
Yeah, poor thing. I can see her eyes are a little bit, and she's got a little drool. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, she has that aura of,
maybe.
I have that same aura. I saw my orthodontist today. Oh, that's a program for you. The one I watched yesterday about the orthotropics. Have you seen that?
No,
Have you heard of mewing? It's these guys who do like
no.
tongue exercises to increase the size of your palate and grow your jaw,
Whoa.
that has all that butterfly effect in your body, obviously. But they're like on this mission, and of course they're getting completely slammed by the establishment. And there's a documentary about it. But even my son knew what mewing is. So that's their last name. It's a dad and son, and they're kind of
Wow.
they're taking on traditional orthodontistry, actually, which is just about moving the teeth. And they're going bigger, about the jaw. And actually one of the first things he said, which totally bought me in, was the reason that people's faces are now so different from each other, which is interesting. I mean, I'm like, okay, but one of the reasons why we have such bad dental work and bad jaw structure now is because not as many people are breastfeeding as previous.
Yep, I've heard that before. And
Well,
it also, palate development, you know,
exactly. Well,
causes
I mean,
mouth
because
breathing and
and
all
what?
kinds of stuff. Mouth breathing. I don't know if you've, yeah,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And
yeah.
the baby's, like, her facial structure is still really soft. It's the stuff we were talking about.
Mhm.
So that development of the muscular structure, everything, maxillofacial structure from breastfeeding is so critical. And you know, my Belgian dentist had said the same thing. That's what blew me away, is like, because I asked her this, I'm like, why do you think, you know, the dentistry is so big now? Why we so need it, so reliant on it? And she said exactly the same thing. She said, I think it's
Wow.
because people's faces are really messed up because we're not breastfeeding as much as in the past. So, and then
Yeah.
he said exactly that. And then then you spend your whole life trying to fix it, basically, and never really
Right.
succeeding.
Well, and that's why people are going with all these undiagnosed oral ties and stuff like that, which I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it's just a new, all these, the cases are just going up and up and up. How can it be that, all these people have them all of a sudden? I never used to hear about
Hmm.
them. And it's like, well, I mean, I was told that it used to just be a hereditary thing. And now it's from all of the food fortification and stuff that we're
Well, I
exposed
also
to.
think like if we stopped breastfeeding, then there was a loss of awareness about that. So there can be an uptick
Exactly.
in
Because if you don't have,
reporting,
sometimes,
right?
I mean, that was the only symptom that Charlie and I had. There can be, you can have all the symptoms, or you can have like one or two, or sometimes they don't show up until down the road.
Hmm.
So if your only symptom is going to be difficulties with nursing, and then your baby's bottle fed, I mean, because
Then
there are
it's not going
tons
to
and tons
show
of
up.
people who are like, I had no idea. And then their front teeth started rotting all of a sudden. They have a
Mm.
gap, huge gap in their teeth, and their front teeth start rotting. It's because your lip isn't mobile enough on your
Hmm.
teeth. So all this stuff is sitting
Do you know?
on
Oh
your
my God, you really need to watch that show then, and also just find out what all they're doing, you know, what all their approach is. Because some of it is you
Yeah.
really need to be treated by one of the things that they really emphasize is, and this is what is it's kind of off the wall, is they use devices that discourage bad behavior, by which I mean they're like prongs in these things so that you
Hmm.
don't, so kids don't do this with their head, then, and they learn to hold their jaw correctly and their neck posture
Yeah.
correctly. So I think part of their problem is actually that they're tackling it from the root of the teeth, and actually it's about the jaw bone. So it's really about the
Yeah.
ortho part, not the dontics part. And if they would approach it from a medical perspective instead of a dental perspective, they probably wouldn't get as much flack, because what are they called? Not orthopedists. What are they?
Orthodontist.
No, bone
Oh,
specialists. I don't
oh,
know. I know
I don't
I've seen
know.
one. I had to see one because of this, you know, and he was treating he gave me shoe inserts. And I'm like, so the thing that these guys are doing is more like a mouth insert, but it has the same effect. Is like you actually improve your spine condition.
Interesting.
Yeah, as a young kid, so during formative years, but it comes across as kind of brutal, and also as an attack, obviously, on orthodontistry. So that's where it's
Right.
totally not okay. And and obviously the approach is rather unconventional. So they get a lot of, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, you should watch it, because for
Yeah,
me, it
I need to
was
watch
really,
that.
what I'm learning about what I'm going through. But you have a good shaped jaw. I have a pretty good shaped jaw. This is really the bottom line, is like they're trying to cultivate a wider jaw. And one of the things I always say is I have to
Yeah,
tell, like today, I
fun.
literally told my own orthodontist tech that the jaw and the pelvis bone, they develop in utero together, you know, so they have this
Mm.
symbiotic relationship,
Wow,
and then the spine grows in between. So you've got this thing where activity, action in your jaw has a corollary effect in your hips. So I think a lot of aging problems with people with
oh
hip problems
yeah.
are
Yep.
definitely related to bad dental work, usually orthodontics, or maybe, can even be just like in my case, it was a bad bridge, right? That just threw off my whole bite, threw off my neck, my hips, my leg balance, like everything, And
Yep.
this crap, my sensitivity to the air too, is because actually I now have scoliosis, and one of my lungs is kind of constantly getting crushed by my rib cage because my spine isn't straight, you know? But I really see, like, while I'm going through this rebuilding of my mouth, so I'm like hyper conscious of what they're doing in there, as like, and as are you. But I really see, like, as they like put certain, partials or the temporary bridges in and out, and are, and the liners, Invisaliners, I feel the effects, like in my hips and whatever. And it's rough, man. I think, and I talked to my orthodontist about this, and she is actually she's a ballerina. So she's also really conscious about symmetry and balance, and what if you touch this here, what it's going to do there. And I appreciate it a lot, man. Like, she's pretty young, but I feel like she gets it. I feel really like confident and kind of like in a safe space with her, even though, like, if you watch that documentary, it's kind of anti-orthodontistry. But I think that she's also looking at it from a bigger perspective. You know what I mean? Like, what's
Yes.
going on with my bite and jaw and balance, and dude,
I have
it's
got to find who's going to fix my mouth because, um, I talked to you about all the stuff with my teeth, but now one of them is moving. And I knew from the moment it happened that things were not right, but I did not expect that it would be. I mean, if your bite, it makes sense if your bite and everything is off, that it would eventually,
has
yeah.
spillover effects. Yeah, yeah, yes, very much. And I mean, I think she told me when I first, had my first consultation with her and told her the whole story, besides being the first person ever to say, I'm sorry that you're going through this, which was like, because I don't think in 30 years of suffering with this that anyone has ever said that. So I was like, oh my God, I feel seen, So she said that. And today again, I'm so, like, the tech that I met for the first time was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. It's like, whoa, it's so different, like women in medicine for the win. Totally. Um, but yeah, to have that, like, when I first told her about all this, she said to me that I might be 1 in 10 people, maybe fewer, who notice what the effect is of what's going on in their mouth. Most people just kind of go, well, it's not really comfortable, it doesn't really fit right, but then just kind of adapt, to the new
Yeah, it's amazing how much your
normal.
body will compensate for something like that
Yeah, that's
until
exactly
it
it.
becomes an even bigger problem.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah. And you're kind of like, oh, it doesn't quite feel right. But then it's only like, you're 10 years down the road and you're like, shit, what have I just gone through? Hi, Charlie. Hi, it's your Auntie Sherry. How are you?
I'm
What are you doing?
jumping on God.
You're
You're,
jumping
you're doing what? Is that
Jumping on the
allowed?
bed.
Does mommy let you jump on the bed?
Yeah.
on mommy's
Yeah.
bed, right? But
Oh,
not on your bed.
on a big bed, like when mommy is
Yeah.
there, right? When mommy
Yeah.
can
Our
catch you.
bed has been, since she's been born, we have it on like a slatted bed base on the floor.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
it's
it's not
just
like she's gonna take
like
a big
launch
fall.
herself. Yeah, I've done that as a child. I was jumping on my mom and dad's bed and I like flew into the air and like hit myself like right next to my eye on a corner of their nightstand or something like that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you know that our big sister, our only big sister, shared big sister, because she's my twin, that the US military changed its standards for bunk beds because when we were 3 living in Germany, she fell from the top bunk and broke her head open.
I didn't know that.
Split it. She had to be medevaced to a
Wow,
hospital.
that's scary.
It was so scary. We were up there. This is the message though,
See,
you
this
know,
is why
no
you can't
dangerous
have your bunk
jumping on
bed
the bed.
yet.
Yeah, I should have warned you. No dangerous jumping on the bed. And it's, well, especially not high up, because that was, I mean, also it was super high. Like, why would you make children's bunk
Mhm.
beds that high? And they're
I
not
know.
made that way.
Nowadays they have a lot more like of these like super low bunk beds.
Yeah, which
I
is
told her when
perfectly
she,
fine.
what did I say? When you turn 6, we can, she got one of those IKEA Kura beds, you know? It's like it can be at the bottom and you literally just like flip it upside down and it's a bunk bed. So,
Nice. That
but
was
you
a
have
cool
a couple
investment.
more years, right?
Yeah.
Or not a bunk
Yeah.
bed, but like a loft bed
That's
on
what
the,
we did too, actually. When the boys
yeah.
were little, we bought these kind of loft beds that it was exactly that, but they were almost like Tinker Toys. There were so many pieces that they discontinued them in the end, but we did manage to build the loft part, and they were more or less structurally sound. And actually, at one point, they had a bedroom where there were the two loft beds side by side, and all of their stuff was under it. And the loft, it was really almost like a real loft because it virtually filled the room. You know what I mean?
I do.
But we did not
Yeah.
hold on to them because, yeah, they were flimsy, and then we couldn't get like spare parts to reinforce them. So it was like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that IKEA has a lot of stuff like that that's kind of, you can grow with it.
Hmm.
I like that
Yeah.
thing. But my husband explicitly hates IKEA. He's like,
I
he's
think
like,
every husband does.
well, it's not just the building part, but it's more like, he's like, haven't we outgrown IKEA by now?
Yeah, I know.
Shouldn't
That's
we
what Brandon
invest
says.
in
He's like, we should.
real
I'm like, well,
furniture?
are we going to get all of this real
Real
furniture that
furniture.
exists? Yeah.
And
Do
the
we want to
price
go
tag.
antiquing?
The money to pay for
Yeah.
it also, because it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to
I
have
was looking
all
for a
real wood.
big, so we have this like huge wall here. I'll just show you. This giant wall here by our dining room table. And we have been looking for something to put there, like a hutch or something, since we moved here. And you go on, there's no like Amish markets like there are on the East Coast.
Yeah,
So if you want to buy Amish furniture, you have to buy it on the internet for like $5,000,
exactly,
or you have to have a
exactly.
truck so you can buy a used one from Facebook Marketplace. So I've been every day I look at Facebook Marketplace and I'm like
You'll
trying to
find
find the right
something.
one. I just
Yeah,
want to use all of that
here come the good
wall space.
vibes. Yeah, but
Yeah.
also, when you're planning down the road for your now, 4-person family, but you're gonna need more space for your dishes,
Oh yeah.
whatever. Because I
Yeah.
was gonna say we invested in a sideboard type of thing from Wayfair,
Yeah.
which I really love. I do love. They have really good customer service at Wayfair. That's why. But
I want to order something from Wayfair that I found. And he's like, can't we find something that's actual wood, not engineered wood? I'm like,
I just got 2 dressers from Wayfair that are real wood. I
I
got them
saw
on
they have
sale.
some things that are,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can definitely and like wait for sale dates. Like I think we got them around Christmas or maybe it was Thanksgiving. So it was like the, end of last year. And they're really nice. They're freaking solid. Wim put them together it was at Thanksgiving when I was away, and they're really robust and it's real wood. Like, so every piece of it is a piece of wood. And then, but he was like, yeah, I don't like the doorknobs. I'm like, the knobs we can swap out, but it's the
Yeah.
wood, right? It's the wood, and since they were on sale, they were like really deeply discounted. So I'm
Yeah,
super,
just get some new
super
knobs.
thrilled. Yeah. And you know what? I think their customer service is, like I said, is really good. So I had an experience with them. I think I think I told you about like the Dyson handheld, and there's a motor on the apparatus to make it make it vacuum better, and that thing
Mm.
just kept dying. And I think it was a known error. And it was like the bottom shelf of the Dyson models, because you can spend like $1,000 probably
Yeah.
on a Dyson vacuum cleaner. Speaking of which, though, they have a very high-end personal air filtering device that I don't know if they've actually released it into the market yet, but I've been like tracking it because I'm like, when they release something, I'm getting it. Because
I'm gonna need one of those for when I have to go back to the DC area.
yeah, I mean,
I don't know what I never had
ridiculous.
problems when I lived there. I never had allergies. I
It's
mean,
new.
I've always been sensitive to certain things, but I
It's
never
new,
had
Abby.
seasonal allergies. And then I went back there and it's like I was so inflamed and
Me
just itchy,
too.
itchy, itchy.
Me
I literally
too.
felt it going away when we were driving down the highway in the car. Like
Exactly.
with each
Exactly.
mile, it just got better and better.
It's like minutes, right? Like if I don't earlier today, and
Mhm.
already since I've taken it off, when it's off for just a few minutes, it's like congestion, like snot
Yeah.
and burning. But I mean, this
Yeah.
is the thing now. So hay fever in this area is a thing. It's a known thing. But also don't forget what mommy has always said, and that she researched specifically when you were born, when you were little, was the whole "Is This Your Child" book. You remember? She's talked about it endlessly. So, and it was about you. It was actually a woman from Western New York who wrote a book about allergies and children, and how they're hard to diagnose because kids can't tell you, right? But then you start that whole elimination diet where you start to take out the
Mhm.
suspected allergens, and then you see what happens with the kids. But one of the tests they used to use, I don't know if they still do, was drawings. So they'd have the kid draw a picture, give them a known allergen, ask them to draw a picture, and you would get these like, like the black crayon, wah, kind of, aggro kids.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is really, well, it happens with adults too, though. Give you a known
Yeah.
allergen and you're like, rah, I get that way. I'm
Oh,
literally
yeah.
irritated. So you're irritated, you get irritable, you're irritated, and so it's like, and that, now the thing is, in kids it's really hard to track it and manage it. But I think that woman who wrote that book, "Is This Your Child," she was a pioneer in like child allergy stuff, and mommy can tell you all about it. But
Interesting.
yeah,
I
it's
am
really interesting.
glad that they so far don't really seem to have anything going on other than skin stuff. But
The
with
boys
that,
had
I've
that
been working on gut health and just keeping stuff that,
dairy.
environmental stuff.
Well,
Okay, let's close this.
eczema and asthma are very closely related. And yeah, allergies are definite triggers. But like this situation that we're talking about here, the thing that I've noticed is now, besides the hay fever, is of course the wildfires in Canada. And now what is going on here? Like I've already vented about this earlier in the week, but it's nitrogen dioxide. So it's actually something very close to ozone. So this is no
Mhm.
longer just hay fever. It's like all these other, kind of human-made, um, whatever they call volatile organic compounds that we're not supposed to be breathing. And my son was like, "But mom, nitrogen, that's just something that's in the atmosphere." And I'm like, "It's, first of all, it's not nitrogen, it's nitrogen dioxide, which is another
Dioxide.
thing." And,
Yeah.
chemistry. And even oxygen is toxic in too large a quantity or too strong a dose, right? So even if we were talking about nitrogen, which we're not, um, yeah, once it's at a certain toxicity, you know, you can't even, so that's my issue now. So I scheduled an appointment with my GP tomorrow, and I'm like, what's she gonna tell me? Like, do you take antihistamines for volatile or for gas in the air? No, I mean, or yeah, you
Yes.
can. Sure, you can, because it'll limit your histamine, your autoimmune response, right? It'll change.
Right. Just be on them forever.
Yeah, that's a permanent solution. I think that's really
Yeah.
American too. And it's like, no, you really need to be asking what it is that's in your environment that is causing this, and talk about how to eliminate the cause instead of, because, and you have histamines for a reason also. Hello, not like it's always good, inflammation and all that, but I mean, but
Right.
so nitrogen dioxide in the body triggers it creates free radicals, so in your throat, in your nose, in your lungs, and can trigger respiratory illness, but also cardiac illnesses, like, because all those valves going to your heart are also getting inflamed. So you can just die, or it's like a long-term thing. You just, you're like gradually diminishing your ability to breathe and for your heart to function properly. So I'm kind of like, so yeah, I can see if you come, like, I did not expect this. I really did not expect coming here for this whole like
Well,
plethora.
and you know that I was reading something about how people don't, even without allergies and stuff like that, people don't take deep enough breaths. And that
Yeah,
can cause a
also,
whole chain reaction of health issues
sure.
too. So imagine if you have allergies on top of that. I mean,
And like scoliosis, like I do. So one of my lungs is kind of always
yeah,
crushed also because I don't have proper
the
posture.
posture, yeah.
But this is why they're calling that guy with the orthotropics a crackpot. But I'm like, no, because if you don't have proper jaw build here, you do breathe less well. I mean, I mean, people with, which I also have, no surprise, but I have, atrophying on the left upper hand side of my face. So I don't breathe as well through this side of my nose. And I had the the septoplasty like 6 months ago. And of course it didn't fix it because it's a whole, regional issue. It's like you got to rebuild those little tiny muscles that, yeah, if you breastfeed, they develop better, right? They develop better.
Mhm.
You create a structure that's more sustainable. And, and they actually, one of the things this guy does is he's always chewing gum, always keeping those muscles fit, which is really interesting. And then
Yeah.
the corollary to that, I got into this, I'm gonna share it too. Her name is Coco, I want to say Hashimoto, or yeah, I don't remember. She's a face yoga instructor. And she said
Interesting.
half of what she does is this mewing technique, which is like what you do with your tongue, depressing your tongue on the palate of your mouth
Mm.
to create that opening. It's like facial exercise, basically.
Wow.
Which, yeah, if you think in terms of
Interesting.
maxillofacial activity,
Brandon got this special like chewing gum, or
there,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not regular chewing gum, but it's
Mhm.
like a plant or some. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like basically what chewing gum was modeled after. And I
Well,
think that I
gum,
haven't.
like from the gum plant,
It's from
it's
some tree,
rubber.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it used
But
to be. Just
it's supposed to have like benefits,
interesting
not just the chewing, but like in the
what it's
substance
releasing.
itself, it's
Uh-huh.
supposed to have some sort of. But I think I might have not tried it because I think it might have said that you're not supposed to do it while you're nursing. But I thought
Okay.
that was really interesting. He was telling me all these health benefits you're supposed to get from it. And I've never been a gum chewer. I don't like the flavor and all the sweeteners and stuff that they
Yeah,
use.
me neither.
But
And
I was like,
that's fair
I
enough.
could probably try something like that if it's like,
Yeah.
has a more natural taste. I feel
But
like
isn't that really interesting? So of course, TMJ,
yeah.
right? The temporomandibular joint, which
Hmm.
causes a lot of anxiety and other things like that. I
Oh
know our
yeah.
mother has,
I
for
had an
example.
episode when I was a teenager where I was sleeping and I was clenching. I had been clenching and grinding so badly during that time. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I yawned and my jaw was stuck open. It locked open.
Yes,
And because
that
I
will
was in
happen.
sleep stupor, I forced it shut because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
And
of course.
it made like this horrible, I do not know
Popping,
why
cracking.
I don't have any issues with it anymore, like
Well,
at
that's
all.
good. I mean, because, technically it's like any joint, you should be able to kind of pop it, right? In theory.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, my dentist, so the guy doing the rebuild of my mouth, he's kind of freaked out by my jaw. But I am actually,
Don't you love that?
well, but he's really an expert of experts in this area. So he's kind of seen everything. That's why I feel comfortable being treated by him, because nothing
Yes.
that I do or say throws him off kilter. But he definitely considers mine a unique case. And I've had to tell him repeatedly that my hips are double jointed. I did gymnastics when I was little, and you have a genetic propensity towards it too, I think. But as I said, since these things are so closely related, I'm not surprised that because he's like, you have actually two locations for your bottom jaw. And I'm like, yeah, that would make sense. Also because of all the stuff that's going on. But that's more factors
Yeah.
that they have to consider while they're doing a rebuild, if you can imagine, and a lot more unknowns. But I definitely think, our mom does that clenching thing. I'm actually not sure that it's bad. That's what I'm thinking because it does create a jaw strength, which is not a bad thing either. Hip strength, foot strength, all of that, all those things that are in parallel in your body. But maybe, you know, it also makes me wonder how much of woman's, maternal wisdom has been lost. The same stuff about, the bite, just stuff that
Mhm.
we used to pass down so much more intimately, from
Oh
generation
yeah.
to generation. Also, kind of staying in a village in a smaller environment where you can do that.
Right.
It's a lot harder now, obviously, but except for the miracle of technology. But I think, I wonder about that grinding and biting thing, and if it isn't not necessarily a bad thing, if that actually contributes to joint health in your
That's
mouth.
interesting. I
But
wonder
then
because
you probably do need the
Charlie
gum.
was grinding her teeth at night
My
a
daughter
lot.
too. My daughter too.
She started as soon as she started getting teeth, and then I was like, "This is really just awful." And then I was told, "Oh, she'll grow out of it," and she did. She kind of stopped, but then down the road, she started grinding when she would fall asleep, and
This is a
she does better when we give her. I give her magnesium lotion at night,
Mhm.
and she does better when she has that.
That's good to
But
know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Artemis had that too, and now I don't know now that she's a teenager, but also we all sucked our thumbs too. So, and I also thought about
Mhm.
um because Shelly and I were not breastfed because that was not the done thing. Of course, mommy overcorrected for that by the time she had you, but that's fine. But of course you can't go back in time and undo. But I also wondered if that's not where the thumb sucking reflex comes from, because that clearly
Yeah.
is also, I think, I was fortunate enough to open my upper palate from doing that, you know? Um, and,
Yep.
then I wonder how much, because it is self-soothing, or and that's not a bad thing
Yeah.
either. Uh, I mean, I had issues on my lower jaw, but it also makes me wonder how much, of those, why do we do that? It might not only be for the comfort, but it actually might contribute
Well,
to.
my dentist was telling me, the pediatric dentist who diagnosed Charlie's oral ties, he was saying that it even affects them in the womb when they're sucking their thumb, because that's when,
They're
that's when they
learning.
start to develop all
Uh-huh.
this stuff, and they're learning their suckling
Mhm.
reflex. And so he's like, if you're doing that actually the whole time that you're in the womb, it's a whole catching up process. You have to like undo all this damage that's been done while she was in the womb.
But
Isn't
I'm
that interesting?
wondering, yeah, I'm wondering if it's damaged. That's kind of what my question is. Like, I mean, obviously you can overextend, especially your upper
Not for
palate
her
for that.
palate, but
Mhm.
for the muscles that she's using,
Mhm.
for suckling. And I did,
Mhm.
so when she did get start to gulp air a lot when she was nursing
Mhm.
after they released her, and she
Mhm.
started spitting up like crazy. And they were like, nope, this is just her mouth is moving around
Has to
all wonky
readjust. Yeah, yeah.
because she's been sucking her thumb in the womb
Mhm.
a certain way, and now
Mhm.
we messed it all up. I
Mhm. Mhm.
was like, oh,
It's
it was a
really
whole,
interesting. Well,
yeah, it's
that's,
very
this was,
interesting.
I was going to say, this is one of the other things that it was just a side remark in the movie is he was talking to his dad about his daughters and said what's been really working for them is to lip tape at night. So I was like,
Yeah.
what? He's taping their
Mhm.
mouths closed at night, very strict about them chewing with their mouths closed, not
Yep.
talking when you're eating. So really building this whole area. And, I think you would, especially because your girls are little, you can already start inculcating some of those practices, so I don't
Mhm.
know about the details of the orthotropics specifically, but especially with the mouth ties, there might be stuff that you could glean from it that you could use with them. And I thought, yeah,
Yeah.
and now, because of the dental work or the bad dental work I had, I still have, like when I talk that like one side of my lip pulls more than the other. So it's really, and that's what's really interesting is seeing what they do. They get in there and measure like everything about the distance from your mouth to your
Wow.
nose. Yeah, how your lips are working when you talk. They actually film the kids, and so they really are
Wow.
working on, yeah, the symmetry and the size of the jaw. And to me, it's like I said, if they'd have come from the direction of osteopaths, so that's the word I was looking at,
Yeah.
osteopaths
Osteopaths.
who
Yeah.
apparently can get away with anything. They can give you any device to use, including soul inserts or
Right. But as soon as it's
neck
a dental thing,
neck
they're like,
extenders.
no, no,
Yeah.
no. Your head is totally separate from all that.
Yes, yes.
Your
Your
mouth is
teeth are
not.
not have nothing to do with any of the rest of your body, which we know is absolute bullshit, right? I mean,
Right.
I swear I could write the book on this and I would like to, in fact, but obviously from a layperson's I mean, perspective, which all of this is, of course, but just because, because of that, I think if he'd have approached it from the other direction, because the corollary effects are really on the neck, the spine,
Wow. This is
the.
crazy. So it really makes you wonder just how many things in our daily lives are making us do weird things that influence this in a way
And that
that
are
they're
not
really not
not
supposed to.
necessary. Yeah, not necessarily good. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's why he's like climbing this hill that is really, I mean,
That
it's
is
very,
crazy.
very ambitious actually. But I think there's so much from it that's valuable. I also think where he failed was by not pulling in the work in this area that's already been done. So whether it's from the neck or TMJ, or maybe he
Mhm.
has, but also, Vedic tradition, Ayurveda, has a lot of oral exercises, like tongue exercises, and it all looks and sounds really stupid, but it's all in the same vein. It's like, mouth exercises for
Yeah.
global health. And the other thing that I've become more obsessive about, like I've told you before, is the tongue as the litmus test. Actually, is litmus even now that I think about it, lingua, I wonder if they're related in terms of etymology. I don't know. But you know, studying the health, that's the other thing about Vedic medicine is they just, when you, like our doctors today, right? Open your mouth and say, ah. That's really, I mean, you know, Vedic doctors see much more than, they're looking at your tongue, not just at your throat, but they're looking at what's going on there to define what your like body chemistry is.
Yeah.
And then, you know, action derived from that, which, as you know, has so much to do with diet and sugars in your body and other crap, which is kind of actually really the stuff that I wanted to talk about today. But all of this is relevant, you know, because like the chemistry is one thing, but the structure, like the biomechanics, is another, and they're both really, really critically important, critically connected, right? Because like if you don't get that biomechanics working correctly, you're going to end up with infections that don't go away, or right? Because I was saying,
Right.
you know, this area is atrophied, and they put the implants in back here, but it is not healing because it's just not getting the blood circulation that it needs, you know?
Right.
And also the bridge is in there and pushing on the wound. So I'm like, and the weirdest thing about teeth is, you know, a root stuff is you can't feel it where it's at. You just feel like this overall ickiness, right? Or like I feel these like hot flashes. And if it weren't being on this journey and really seeing exactly when it
I
happens,
have never experienced anything like when I got those root canals yanked out of my mouth. I mean, just how much it affected my entire body. I could not believe it. It was the
I
craziest feeling.
believe it.
Like my whole face just felt like I don't even know how to describe it.
But
It
didn't
was
you
so
feel
crazy.
cleansed like after it's
I
out? You're
did.
like,
I
oh my
like
God.
my sinuses when he pulled it out, like I felt like my sinuses opened up. That
Yes.
was just until later when the infectious
Mm.
swelling situation started, like when the infection was like going through my body.
Yeah. You still have to get it out is the thing. And
Yeah,
it's
but
not easy to
immediately
get
I was
out.
like, I felt so much better.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
I'm kind of worried because I'm like, if it's not healing, if it's just because the bridge is pushing on it, or if there's, you know, knowing us, right? These are titanium. So I'm like, please don't tell me I'm having an allergic reaction to the titanium, because then,
Yeah,
you know, then
I'm a little concerned because I have one implant that I got before I got these two. And then I have like a titanium plate in my wrist now. And yeah, I just wish I didn't. I
me
It feels
too.
silly to have surgery again to have it removed though. They told me when they put it in that they're like, you can have it removed or it can stay in there forever. I don't know if it would be quite as invasive
Is
as
it elective though?
thin
Like, does your
to
insurance
get it
cover it?
removed.
Yeah. If you say,
I
I
don't
don't
think
want
so.
this,
Yeah, probably. I doubt it.
isn't it like, yeah, that's, I
Yeah.
don't need this in here. It can, it would definitely be better if it weren't in here, but you know,
Right.
yeah. Wow, like you're on your own though with that. Well, I'm
Hmm.
also like, because I had asked the dentist, because I was already, you know, on top of those things. And, you know, Rosie has, I guess hers are ceramic. She has a ceramic implant. And
Mm.
yeah, I asked my periodontist about that. I said, can we you know, can we do ceramic? And he said, I use titanium. And then I'm kind of like, you're kind of stuck, you know, I'm like, well, I don't want you to do
Guess
that.
I
I don't
could
want.
start this whole thing over from the beginning, like with, yeah, no.
Well, do you know what he told me? He said only 6% of patients have a reaction to that. And I'm like, well, you know, I know
Yeah,
our gene pool. So
kind of like, yeah, yeah. When people
uh,
say that, I'm like, hi, that's me. I'm the
yeah,
6%.
count me
I'm the
in.
0.5%. I'm the whatever percent. That's me.
Unfortunately, not the 1%, right?
Right.
Yeah, crap. Okay, well, I mean, we've already been on here for like an hour, I know, so I'm sensitive to your availability. But I just want to say, let's make it clear. Abby doesn't follow the Bills like Rosie and Michelle and even Rebecca and I do. But that's not really the most important thing. Of course, you're like by virtue of the rest of your sisters, you're part of the Bills sisters.
It's like an
Um,
osmosis
yes, I mean you can't root
absorption.
against the Bills, so that that would totally not be tolerated. But it's a family. That's actually, they call the Bills fandom, they call it the Bills Mafia, which
Nice.
that has come up, of course. Like Rosie sent me a link there. Like I think every year there's an article like in some random main news outlet about the term Bills Mafia, which I think is I know it's a relatively recent thing because we didn't call it that back in the day, like before you were even an idea. But now it's been popularized. It is the name for Bill's fandom is Bill's Mafia. And there's always this article about, mafia, it's such a horrible word. And then of course the response is it's family. It's like, okay, well, we could also use the word family.
Bill's
Or,
family.
or we could call it familia. We could say la familia, but we don't have to say la mafia anyhow. But it's kind of a done deal, and it's gotten traction. So like, what are you gonna do? But I'm saying this because Wim and I went to the Bills Miami game early in January just because I wanted to go to Miami. And we did this last year and we ended up in Buffalo. So I was like, Miami, Buffalo, no, I'm not really. I wanted Wim to see Miami, and I had been there maybe once, but never really to like hang out and check it out. And it's a very cool city. I just really love it. The air is very clean, very clean. That was so refreshing just to always have this balm in your lungs, and like you feel like you can breathe. I had so much more energy. However, that's because there's hurricanes, right? So a lot of rain, a lot of
Amazing how much they clean the air out,
yeah,
It's
yeah, they clean everything out.
do a really
But
good
I
job.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. And by the way, a tornado touched down like 100 feet from us while we were there. So that was freaking crazy. We were like in Fort Lauderdale at a Bills gathering at a Bills backers bar. And, Wim was getting hangry about he wanted to eat a piece of pizza. So we're standing at like one of those sidewalk pizza stands. You walk up and they give you a slice, and then all of our phones start going off. Like, emergency warning, like run for cover. I mean it, like get inside now.
Oh,
There is a
no.
tornado coming. No, I just want my slice. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? He like made me choose between running for cover indoors and all these, like all the shops on the street were wide open. It wasn't like, it's like an awning and then their kitchen. So it wasn't even really a place where people could go in. And I kind of snuck it. And the boss was like, you get out of here. I was like, are you kidding me? There's like a tornado touching down. And meanwhile, Wim is digging in. He's not going to come inside. He's going to stay and wait for his pizza. And like, there's a tornado there. It was really like, we're not in Kansas anymore. Seriously, or, it's spinning. And there's like, electric wires in the fucking tornado. Like you could see the, electric charges in this black spinning thing that behind it was equally black. So the only way you could see the tornado was because of the electricity and the debris inside of it. And this is like, just a block up the street from where we are. And I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
like the guy kicked me out of the pizza kitchen and I'm like, way to go, asshole. And then I just ran in like 2 doors down into the like the Five and Dime. And there's this lovely woman and I'm like, I'm triggered because I'm like, dude, I'm not one of these idiot weather disaster spectators. I'm like, if you do that, you deserve to go. You know, you're not even trying to save your life. You're actually wanting to die. So I was like, you know, and I was so mad at Wim, like, you've made me choose between you and me. That's like so fucked up. But you know, and I'm at the register, and this woman, she's like, it's okay, it'll be okay. And I'm like, Does this happen often? Because of course we know about hurricanes in Florida. And she's like, oh yeah.
Right.
She's like, oh yeah, because I'm like, tornadoes, you know, that's like Oklahoma, right? It's like Kansas,
Right. Kansas. Yeah.
right? She's like, no, it happens all the time in Florida as well. And I was like,
I
oh
had no
my
idea.
God, me neither. And then
Mm.
she said, but and it turns out she's from New Jersey. She'd been there for like 5 or 6 years. And she says, well, um, if the alarm continued, then we would know, like, we really need to run for cover. But it was one alarm, it had touched down, and it, like, you know, blew over. So
Okay.
she was like, but she was reassuring me, like, no, you're right. You're supposed to be inside. We're supposed to wait. You know, I was like, oh, thank you. You know, thank you.
That's pretty wild.
But yeah, so that was one of the highlights of the weekend. The other highlight was the game that we actually won. But tailgating before the game, there were we just ended up there completely unprepared, you know, and this is the thing among the Bills Mafia is the tailgate. That's, you know, what they're known for. What we're known for is jumping through folding tables and all kinds of doing shots from bowling balls, stuff like that. So all this is going down, and Wim and I show up completely empty-handed because we're like, we had to just get to the venue. It was like already a very crazy thing to get from where we were staying to the stadium. So we're empty-handed. We're like, oh my God, we're so ill-prepared for this. But this is the Mafia, okay, they'll take care of us. So someone gives me a random one of those spiked iced tea drinks. I don't even remember what it's called. And then there was a group of young women, and I was like, ladies, would you just give us one beer for my husband? And they're like, sure. Is he gonna shoot it? So they get Wim to shoot his first beer, you know, like it was adorable, and they were so cute. And behind my back, they asked him, like, you know, how old is your wife? You know, they're talking about my skin. And he's like, oh yeah, she does all this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll tell you all about
It's
it.
the vitamin C therapy.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, I told them, like, in brief, I'm like, I do this and this and that. Of course, you have to have a good gene pool. But if you're young also, and like kind of the earlier you start it, of course, the longer those benefits are going to, and probably greater they will be, right? So that's why I thought of you. I was like, and they're like, they want the whole prescription, like what it is that I do. And I'm like, I can't give medical advice, and you have to consult your doctor before you change
Yep.
your diet. And one of them, I'm not going to say her name, but she was waiting for this episode because I said, we're going to like talk about this stuff. And she's actually diabetic. And, you know, she has the monitor and the insulin that she's like, you know, that she has to check and release, you know. And you mentioned this the other day, right? Like what the potential impacts are of the ultra high dosing of vitamin C on probably before you're diagnosed with diabetes, I think is
Yeah.
probably
Like
better.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like pre-diabetes stage. But I don't know, you know, I think having pH balance in your body, just generally speaking, this is going to be a good thing because it also fights infection and viruses and yeast and all that other stuff. So I'm totally on the bandwagon, but I got all this from you. So I want to give you props for that, first of all, Abby, and to say thank you. And like, you know, and now it's really long, but I really wanted you to talk about, you know, your journey with that, like how you came to it. Also, these things that you say people say about you that I don't really care. What was that word you used?
Um, I think it was orthorexic.
Orthorexic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Um, The vitamin C thing, I actually found out when I was struggling with an infection that I had. And I had been following this mom blogger who talked about how she avoided taking antibiotics for a really, or no, I think she might have taken antibiotics and they didn't work for a really severe mastitis infection that she had. And she was able to get rid of it with high dose vitamin C and started to talk about all the benefits, how she gives it to her son. If he gets sick when he was a baby, she would just dip her little pinky in there and give him the powder, and it would help him get through stuff super fast.
Sure, but this isn't even rocket science. It's like a known thing, right? If you get sick, then you take
Yes.
vitamin C. We all
But
know.
nobody knows how much to take because, the
It's not
recommended
researched.
amount is not. I think somebody had said to me that if you look at, like, I think they said goats. Was it? No, that must be, I think that's a different thing. I'm thinking of minerals. I'm obsessed with vitamin C and I'm obsessed with minerals and remineralization. I get the two things mixed up sometimes. But
Well, I just recently saw, because I do follow Google research on this kind of stuff, and I just read that that there's so about the dose, that's a big question. But I just read a report that is trying to consolidate whatever research. So research on the research. So what research on vitamin C has been done, and what are the guideposts, like what, and there's a little bit on dosing. And from that is where I got the, I think 4 grams day and night. So that's what I always do. It's like one.
I always dose to bowel tolerance. And if anything changes, I reevaluate it.
So what's your bowel tolerance?
So that it changes. That's the thing. So right now, I would say probably close to the 4 grams, like you were saying, as a
day
daily
and
dose.
night, day and night, or just daily?
I split it up, and I split up the 4 grams into, like, I honestly try to do as many doses as I can throughout the day rather than taking it all at once.
Oh, interesting. Because I do 4 and 4. And actually in the research, it said, it was saying that 3 grams seems to be optimal. If they, so consolidating the research, on it, because it's small, research pools, and not always with a control. So there's like all these things that they don't know. But that seemed to be one conclusion, is around 3 grams. And also, I don't know if that's every 12 hours or if it's like for 24 hours. So I'm kind of like, but I think you're right. Like,
the reason I started doing it is because I had an infection that I was trying, it was a kidney pain. And I was still breastfeeding Charlie, and I didn't have any symptoms, like any urinary tract, anything. And then all of a sudden I just started getting this horrible pain in my kidneys, and I've had a kidney infection, before.
Nothing.
So I was like, oh man, I've got like a kidney infection, and I had to decide, what am I going to do about this? Am I going to go? And this is like right in the middle of, I think there was like a bunch of COVID stuff going on. And I really didn't want to take antibiotics. I didn't want to nurse her on antibiotics, and she was teething. And I had remembered this person saying that she never takes antibiotics anymore and just uses high dose vitamin C. And so I'm in a couple of really good Facebook groups that actually have files with all of I haven't read through all of them.
Maybe you should share those. I suppose they're private, right?
They're private.
The links. You should share the links, maybe.
Let me see.
And put them in our in our summary.
Let me see how to do this. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I can
So there's
also
two. There's
share the
one,
research.
like vitamin
And
C.
you should clarify too that it's really important that you don't take like vitamin C tablets, especially chewables, because they're usually loaded with so much sugar. It's almost like you're
Yeah,
counteracting the benefits because you're
right. Well, not just
neutralizing
that,
it
but a
with
lot of times they include like a lot of
fillers.
bioflavonoids
Yeah.
and just, yeah, other stuff, fillers that are,
Mhm.
well, I'm trying to get this link here.
So the thing that Abby advised me to take that I always take now is ascorbic acid powder. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking like I take 4 grams in hot water. I also use I use a liquid mineral. Do you use that, Ab? Like it's
Yes, I use
liquid
trace
mineral.
mineral.
Yeah, that's the
Yep.
one.
I
'Cause
put that in my water, every glass of water that I drink.
oh, really?
It's not
Oh,
letting me share. Can I send it to you?
sure. Yeah.
And hold on.
I'll have a look and I'll summarize it all later. But which
Did that send it to you?
yeah.
Did I do it? Okay. I don't use Zoom very much.
Which what brand of ascorbic acid powder do you use? I think
I've used a few different brands. Right now I have the Now brand.
that's
I
what I
just
have
bought
too.
huge, like a
Yeah.
pound of powder.
Oh, really? You can
Yeah.
get a 3-pounder, you know that?
Oh
That's what I
yeah.
have.
Oh, I was next time. See, I had a whole bunch. Next time, I was planning to buy from bulk supplements
Yeah.
because they're not. It's not from America, but they third party test everything, which I
Is
really
really
like.
important. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if
Um.
did you see that? You probably don't give your girls the those squeezy fruit things with the cinnamon s- well, it was
Is it like a puree
cinnamon
thingy?
with some kind of trace. Yeah, like basically applesauce and a squeezy thing, but the cinnamon
Mhm.
was tainted. And the
No.
USDA cannot check it because the tainting happened in Nicaragua
From
where they
real
actually
production of
produced
it.
this
Yeah.
stuff. And even the cinnamon itself came from Sri Lanka. So it's like it's not until people are being poisoned by it that the
Right.
USDA can get involved and take it off the
Yeah.
shelves. But this is like little kids are eating this shit, you know? And
Hmm.
also why I'm like, you know, I tell my husband all the time, don't buy spices if you don't have to, because how they're processed, we have absolutely no control over. And why would you anyway? Just use the actual things. Although I am addicted to garlic spice, I have to say, because you know, it's garlic powder, because it's so much more concentrated. But how they
Yes.
get it that concentrated is also part of that process, which is very
Yeah.
dangerous. But yeah, that's good that it's tested, that even if it's third party, that it's
I've gotten
tested.
other things from them and I've been really happy with it. And yeah, I really like that it's third party tested. But the dosing on this in this Facebook group, they say that it's really important to go by bowel tolerance because well, first of all, we don't produce our own vitamin C in our bodies.
Right.
Aren't we we're like the only mammal that doesn't produce our own vitamin C.
Really? I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I would be surprised that any mammals would produce vitamin C actually. And we don't store it either. So that's the
Right.
important thing is like when you dose it,
Don't
that's why you're
store it.
saying to spread it out because
Right.
you just pee
You'll
it out.
pee it out. Yep.
Yeah. So
And
that's also why I've been kind of feeling it. I'm like, I feel, and I do watch my tongue. So that's the other, like I said, the litmus test is so while you're eating foods during the day, if they're sugary or spicy or whatever, you're actually disturbing your pH level. And you can really see like, if you're getting like thrushy or yeasty kind of stuff
yep.
that's building up on your tongue, which you will definitely see when you consume dairy.
Oh yeah.
And
And
by the
since you
way,
told me that,
animal
I realized
protein
I'm
that you're not.
really sensitive to it. Like I notice right away when I
Yeah.
feel inflamed and my pH is off.
Yeah.
It's
And then you
very,
say, that's when you take the next dose of vitamin C,
Mhm.
right? Because you're like, something is going on in there. I need to recalibrate. So that's why
yeah.
it makes sense to do it over the course of the day. And I don't know, maybe I've just gotten to that bowel tolerance level where I can do, 4 grams in the morning, and I feel like it.
Well, and if you have
lasts.
any sort of infection or anything going on in your body,
Yeah, you can
cancer,
always bump it up. Yeah.
yeah, and because your body is using up way more of it. Like when cancer patients, when they give like IV vitamin C to cancer patients, they'll give them like 60,000 milligrams of it at a
Wow.
time. When I had my infection, so they say the way that you determine your bowel tolerance is like if you're an adult, you take 1,000 milligrams every 20 minutes. And then eventually at some point you'll start to feel like bubbly in your gut.
Mhm.
That's when you've reached bowel tolerance. If you keep going past that point, then
You're gonna shit your guts out. No.
she can play
But
with it. She can have it open. It's okay. It's not a
yeah,
big deal. Okay. Sissy's in the potato bin and Charlie's like trying to get her out of it. I'm like, it's fine. Let her play with the potatoes.
play with potatoes, sure.
Yeah, it's fine. Um,
I know.
so you get the bubbly. There are people who, so I'm in another separate vitamin C group for pregnancy because there's a whole bunch of people who high dose vitamin C during pregnancy because that's another thing that makes your body use up more vitamin C.
Yeah. Well,
So
that for me was
great.
the deciding factor. When you told me about that of birthing Dorothy in the
Oh
amniotic
yeah,
sac, that was like,
yeah. It was
because then I
that was
just thought,
crazy.
yeah, that is just so
Yeah.
awesome because she's so much better protected from everything. And isn't every mammal birthed that way? Like, and why aren't humans, right? It should be the norm.
Yeah, it should be. And so some people actually continue past the point of bowel tolerance. Like after they've had the baby, they'll do an intentional flush where
Mhm.
you keep taking it after bowel tolerance. And I mean, I guess a lot of people take laxatives and stuff after they've given birth to get things moving and get fluids out of their body and stuff like that. But laxatives have a lot of
I'm like,
issues.
give me fluids. I hope that they're hydrating while they're doing this, because if you're like
Oh yeah,
shitting out
for
all
real.
that, you really need
Yeah,
to.
I did not decide to do that. I was like, I don't feel like this is necessary.
Yeah, that sounds
But
like it'll still happen over time. It'll just be more gradual,
yeah.
and I think probably your body can resist it a
So
bit
you take
better.
they say to do it every 20 minutes until you get the bubbly gut feeling. And then so then you take that dose, you're keeping track of it.
Mhm.
And then they say just divide into however many doses you want to divide them up into throughout the day. But
So is that for a 24-hour period then? Or
I guess so. And I was
Mhm.
bringing this up because when I was sick, the reason I started trying to spread them apart more is because when I was sick with the infection, I at one point I was making progress and I really felt like I was better, but then I would go to sleep at night and I would wake up and I would feel the
feel
symptoms
that
again
again? Yeah.
after
Yeah.
going all night.
Yeah,
And the
because
person
that's
I
whatever.
talked to somebody who was doing it and she said, wake up in the middle of the night, set an alarm and wake up in the middle of the night
And
once
replenish.
and see if it helped. And when I did that, it was gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
actually helped
Oh,
me. So I
that
thought,
makes sense.
yeah.
I'll
So
tell you,
I don't know.
this is totally not scientific at all, but apes eat greens all day long. Our closest primate cousins, they are consuming vitamin C all day long,
Yeah.
except and they also don't sleep as long as humans do, right? They sleep in
Right. Well, in
shorter bursts.
humans, I actually don't think it's natural for us to sleep the way that we sleep for, like if we didn't have jobs and stuff like that, I
Right.
think
In terms of
I think I read
biorhythms.
somewhere that you'll have like it's biologically normal for humans to have two separate sleeps, kind of.
Right. Yeah, that's all the rage
Smaller.
now, is like the medieval sleeping patterns, where they talk about, being
Super
awake at
interesting.
midnight or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I think the best thing, if you can, is to just listen to your body, right? Like when you're tired, that you sleep. And
Mhm.
apparently there is this biorhythm dip that's kind of earlier in the night. That's probably the ideal time for the first
The
sleep,
first sleep.
you know?
Yeah.
But I mean,
And then I think the second one would be like after the first few hours of the morning or something. And then, yeah, it's
that's
interesting.
very.
Yeah.
But and then when you're breastfeeding, you know, you don't have any control. It's like it's up to the baby that dictates your schedule.
Right.
Although I wouldn't recommend that sleeping schedule, because I mean it's just so it's hard. But that's how sailors, right? It's the sailor's sleeping schedule, and it's 4-hour intervals, which is interesting, you know, like I think if you kind of average it over time, it's basically 4-hour intervals. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've ever read the book Women Who Run with the Wolves. I read it when I was in my 20s probably. And
Mm.
the what is her name? Estes is her last name, but I don't remember her first she has a first and hyphenated last name. But basically her message is women have gotten too far away from nature. And
Mhm.
you know, and that's a real
Oh,
a source
yeah.
of power. But not you. You're like really close to nature now, right? I mean, closer. It's all relative.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I feel like the more I spend time with around more nature, the more I just want to spend more and more
I
time with
know.
more nature.
It's so true, you know, and actually
Yeah.
now, so you know, our twins are graduating in June, and then we're gonna like, it's gonna be kind of empty nest. Although I think one of the two of them is probably gonna stay and study in Northern Virginia. So we're like, but
Nice.
I'm kind of like, I don't want him to stay at home though. I want him to go have that like on campus living thing, because it's kind of, you know, I don't know. And also, I don't think it's good to have young males at home. Young adult males at home is a recipe for disaster. I mean, literally, statistically, I'm gonna go off on a tangent. I don't know if I've told you the story, but you know, we were living, I mean, in this area, and not, I guess it was about a year and a half ago or so, that one of the Patch articles was about a young male adult wandering down the street of one of these, you know, suburban neighborhoods covered in blood. And the police made like a wellness visit to his house, and his dad had been stabbed to death. There had been a knife fight. He killed his father. And then it came out that like every year there are at least 6 such incidences in our county alone. So I think every family with a young male adult can, especially moms, like we get, you know, that's just the moment when they've got to be out of the house, you know, when things have to be so bad that they want to leave and that you want them to leave. But not this bad, right? And in COVID, there was so little choice that we had in
Oh,
matters as well,
oh,
and
yeah.
so many fewer options also because, you know, well, anyway, it was a very stressful time for all of humanity. And I think
Oh, we're
women
going to
were,
be seeing the effects of this for
I was just
decades.
thinking about that last night, you know, I
One
was
of
like,
my high school, well, it was like my high school boyfriend's younger, it's a family of 5 boys, and their youngest son killed himself at like a park because he was just, one of the people that was just during COVID.
a casualty. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he
yeah,
just became really depressed and
yeah,
couldn't do it
yeah,
anymore. I feel so bad for his parents. I keep hearing about stuff like that all the time.
yeah. I mean, it was during and then especially shortly after, but that's what I was thinking. And frankly, it really is important for us to be in touch with each other, like, but physically, right? Contact and eye contact. And I was starting to think, because even for my husband's job, they're now saying, we want you to do on-site customer visits, and their work really blossomed during COVID, also because of COVID and remote working and all that needs the kind of security around it that he works on. But also, for them, it was like a period where remotely deploying these, these solutions for customers was, economically effective. But now they're like, actually, it's a lot harder to do it remotely because the client has to have stuff ready and in place for us to go in and demonstrate what it is that, this solution is capable of. And sometimes because it's remote, they're not as much on the ball about it. So now they're talking about going and doing stuff in person, and that being perhaps more effective. And I'm like, so we've all gone through this whole curve, right? And it's still jarring for me, because I'm like, you know what, we still definitely have not gotten out of that thing. I mean, there's like so much still psychologically, just
Oh
everything,
yeah, so many people have gone remote,
like
it's just more
permanently.
normal
Like
now, and
yeah.
like they probably, yeah, it's almost like people are like phobic of like real human interaction
Real human
now.
contact. That's true,
Yeah,
Well, I don't know about
after
you. I
being,
mean,
introverted for so long.
I mean, I do know, I know you, obviously, and I gotta say, because we were both living on Highway 1 for the majority of COVID. And
Mhm.
you know what I saw in myself, that I was like, I'm perfectly okay with this, because I have a weird introverted aspect to my personality, but clearly also not. So, I'm maybe one of these weird aberrations. Yeah. And you know that I'm the quiet twin, by the way? Do you know that, Abby? When we were growing up, I know. Did you shut off your mic? Yeah, but our sister. Yeah, she's no slouch. She can hold her own for sure. But I was the quiet twin, because she was always going off. Um, and I also wondered, like, maybe I am a little less, like, maybe I grew into it kind of maybe I became more outgoing. But during COVID, I felt pretty happy to just be able to not always be in front of other people, and kind of determine or do it in measured doses, and virtually. I thought that I was okay, but you know what? I think when we started opening up again and having more people contact,
Yes,
that's
you
when I
realize it's not.
realized how
Yeah.
bad it was, right?
Now, I would have been okay with it, except for the fact that I had just had Charlie, and that really screwed up our whole medical care, postpartum care, big time. So that really, and then of course, I was in the house, and I actually didn't. Well, we only had one car at the time anyway. So there are a lot of reasons why, but like there was a rainbow. I don't, oh, beautiful. That's very
Show
pretty.
us.
Here.
Was it something she made, or is it something that
No, there's a rainbow.
there's a
We have
rainbow
lots.
outside?
Oh, yeah. Let me show you. Watch out, honey. You don't have pants on either. I guess we don't have neighbors. It doesn't really matter. Hold on.
More like the elements. Oh, wow, that's so beautiful. Look at that. You can see the whole thing.
Yes. It's
Is
a double
this
rainbow almost. Wait,
since they cut the trees
I can
away.
only
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
You
yeah,
can almost see the double
very
rainbow.
faint. I can only see it through the camera.
Oh my God, this is so a Wizard of Oz
Pretty. Let's go.
conversation.
I love the rainbows out here. We see so. I mean, it's raining all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Get lots
exactly.
of nice
How,
rainbows.
so the air quality is also really good though, is the
It's
thing.
really good. It's
Except,
usually, let me see, what is it at right now? I never check.
you know, it was so good when we were in Northern California until
60.
the wildfires. How much?
It's 60. It says that's moderate to good.
Yeah, 60 isn't that great. I thought you said 16. I was gonna be like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, where you're at, it's probably wood fire, some kind of something related to that.
Yeah, everyone's trying to burn stuff now that the rain is we have some huge brush piles that need to be burned. Oh my gosh. It's gonna be a mess.
And that's how it's done, is burning it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what,
Yeah.
Ab, we should park this here because I want to also talk about iodine and the minerals and like the other stuff that's on our like hit list of these are like must do's, but we could treat it in smaller chunks, but this is only if you're willing, because I know that there is a group of people out there personally who are interested in this topic, but it's also really interesting, like for, just generally speaking. But that's if you are up for that. Would you guys?
Yeah.
Plus I get to spend time with you, which I really love.